Welcome to another episode of Icon Presents. Joining me today, I have a gospel legend in the building with me today, here to talk to us about his newest book, Principles That Will Make Your Life Predictable, with a history working with gospel legends such as Fred Hammond, Kirk Franklin, Yolanda Adams, and so many more. Ladies and gentlemen, Icon Presents Adrian Ewings. Welcome, Adrian Ewing. How you doing today?
I'm doing amazing, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
I always say it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
Awesome. Yes, Mr. Rogers. I love it. I love it. Man, I got to be honest, going into this interview, finding out so much more about you. I've been reading up and everything and kind of looking into your backstory, looking about everything that you've done in the past and all that, realizing it's always funny to me how, you'll talk to somebody and you realize that they were part of your childhood. You just meet them one day. It's like, man, this is awesome. So I'm looking forward to this. I want to talk about your book, but first, give me a little bit about your backstory and kind of how you kind of came into the position that you're in today.
Man, I grew up right here in San Diego. There's not too many people that still live here that were originally born in San Diego. So I'm one of those ones who did, but just started out as a young man, loving people, loving entertainment. My dad was, he was an entertainer. He was in the music industry for probably about 35 years. He did about 3 albums himself. Back then they were still doing albums. So he did about 3 albums, was on in like 2 movies. I still have the reels from those movies that he did. He sang in those. He traveled the world, preached around the world, sang around the world. So he was one of those guys. He had an operatic voice. And so growing up watching him do what he did and seeing him come back off of touring in Korea, some of the biggest churches in the world. He sang and preached and traveled there every single year. So kind of got the juices going in me to realize that, we could do something great. And so, we was brought up in church. I wrote a song called Sanctified, and it starts out, it says, brought up in Sunday school. Lord, I learned all your rules. But because my dad was the Sunday school guy, so we were brought up in church. But my mother was the one who would allow me to go out to parties sometime. And when in my teenage years, she let me go out. She would actually take me there, drop me off, and then pick me back up. So I didn't get in no trouble because she understood on the way there and back, that's when the trouble really started. So, she allowed me to go and go. And I got really the little juices flowing when it came to, dance and things of that nature. So I was the kid walking up and down the streets of San Diego, pop locking, doing, whatever the latest dance was. Then we would go to every couple of years, we'd go to North Carolina, my mother and I. And I was known as California there because I still had long hair. They had covadises, little short hair. They call those covadises. They had hair like this back then. We still had Jerry curls and long hair. So I was a different guy there, but I would walk around those streets dancing, man, and just got in the entertainment bug there. And so grew up. The coolest thing, I think the best thing that happened to me was I left the neighborhood school around 4th grade. My best friend, Chris Johnson, left in the 3rd grade, and he went out to a school called Hurst Elementary in Del Cerro. So I said, I'm going next year. So I went the next year. And I think that's one of the things that shifted really my life, because I was able to see that it was 2 different worlds going on. And it shifted my identity. And I'll talk about identity. It's in the book, but it shifted my identity. I'm not just who I am or what I wear, but your identity is what you believe you deserve you could have.
I got you.
Because that's all you get is what you believe you deserve to have. And so my best friend now became a blonde-haired, blue-eyed young man named Steve Sickman. Right? That was my best friend. Right? So I'm going to his house. He has a pinball machine. I'm like, what? Who has a pinball machine in their garage, right? Steve Sickman did it. My other friend was Howard Wright. His dad played with the San Diego Chargers. So he lived out there, and he looked like me. And he had the same stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. But that made something shift in my mindset to where it felt like I believe I deserve that too. And so that was a big shift in my life. So doing what I'm doing now, getting to this point, I think those were the things that really pushed me into the point where I wanted to shift and raise my identity so that I can get to the next level in my life. So those are some of the things. And then obviously marrying the right people, right person, having great kids and things of that nature. And we'll get into that.
I got you. Yeah, we'll jump into all of that. Now tell me about your book. It's called, what is it? Principles that will make your life predictable.
Yeah. I started writing this book, man. This is really probably 20 years of work because I study people. I love to listen to orators. I love to listen to preachers. I love to listen to great leadership. And that's what I've done over the years. I work in business. I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. I've really been doing that forever. So I had to study. I self-developed. I listened to the right people. I read the right books. And what that did was it helped me get into proximity of people that I probably would never get into proximity to. But because of the fact that I'm reading their books, they took 30 years to put that work together. Right. So now I'm able to take that 30 years and read it in an hour and a half or or a day or 2 days, whatever it takes me. So I'm able to get all that information. That's what I've been doing. So over the years, I've been able to just bring together a conglomerate of information, and I wanted to put it into book form. And so one of the things I thought was important was that we live by principles. And so there's only one way to guarantee your future, and that is really through operating through principles. Some people may call them laws. And so that's important. So the book is really all about, it's just a bunch of principles, but it's not like principle number 1, principle number 2, but it talks about different elements of my life and things that I've done and things that I've learned in life, just to realize that if I just do the right thing for a certain amount of time, I'll be able to get the results that I need. And so let me just give you an example. I'll put it in hood terms for you when it comes to principles. If you get paid on the 1st and I see you at the mall on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I could predict you'll be broke by the 6th. Why? Because I see your principles. You're a spender. Same thing happens if you're a saver. So principles are very important in our life, because I always say it like this: you are the sum total of everything you've done over the last 10 years. And you will be the sum total of everything you do over the next 10 years. So your future is not tomorrow. Really, your future is today, because what you do today is going to determine what you have and become tomorrow. So those principles that you use every day are very, very important.
That's interesting. So overall, what would you say kind of your approach to putting something like this together? Because at a certain point, you have to look at your life and say, okay, obviously, and we'll go into this, you've had a long career and a lifetime of being able to connect with various people and lots of people and impact a lot of different lives. So you have to have some type of desire to have a positive impact in people's lives. But how do you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is the way that I want to do it?
You know, it's really just number 1, making a decision. Number 2, I think it's really about finding your purpose. In the book, I talk about it. There's a book on a chapter on purpose. And basically, purpose is the original intent of a thing, or the reason why something was created. There's a reason that we're here. Life without purpose is really an experiment. And since God doesn't experiment, since I'm here, there's something I'm supposed to do. And I the one thing that I think people leave out, because in church, we give our lives to the Lord. Then maybe some churches get filled with His Spirit, right? But what's next, right? What's next? You got to find out why you're here. Most people want to know how to do something, but the most important thing you should do is define why you should do it. Because once the why shows up, the how will show up also. So purpose is important. So once I found my purpose, and my purpose when I was young, it was working in the entertainment industry. It was the gospel entertainment industry, but still that's what it was. And that was my purpose, going out. Really, I just wanted to help save kids, get kids off of the streets. So I started this dance group, right? I started this dance group. And because I had that desire, I had to find a way to do it. Now, in church, that was taboo, right? You didn't dance in church.
I got you.
Not at my church, at least.
I got you.
And so I moved to Oklahoma for a couple of years. I had 2 sons at the time, Adrian II and Blake at the time. My wife, Deidre, we really just said, we decided it was a God's move for me to move to, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I didn't know but one person there, and he was the most famous preacher in the world. So he didn't have any time. He was raised in San Diego, so he knew my family, Carlton Pearson. So I went to his church and saw this young guy named Darius West, and he and my wife actually got together and started ministry. And when it came to dance, and we were doing some Christmas play, and then we moved back home to San Diego 2 years later because I had my last son, Corey, who just turned 30 the other day.
Okay,
and so that was a long time ago. So we came here and back home and started a chapter here. That chapter took off, got me to where I was able to travel the world, meet some of the most incredible people in the world.
Gotcha.
I had some great experiences.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit, because I do want to continue to talk about the book, but I think it's important to qualify somebody whenever anybody wants to help and kind of offer their advice or kind of make an imprint on people's lives. I always feel like it's important to qualify yourself, because a lot of times people are like, what I heard a quote the other day was like, people can never if they've never been in your shoes, don't tell them, don't have them teach you how to tie your laces or whatever, to that extent.
Right.
And I was like, overall, I get it. It's experiences that kind of teach us a lot when it comes to pretty much. That's why it's important, young people, to listen to your elders. I know we live in a society now that wants to disregard and kind of change all history and all that kind of stuff and ignore things and act like we've evolved. Oh no, we're so evolved. Nah, you're not. Yeah. You're not. That's why you keep making mistakes, and that's why life is so difficult for you, because you won't listen to nobody. But that's a tangent of myself.
That's a good tangent. That's a good tangent. I always say it like this: you can't teach what you don't know. Yeah. You can't lead where you don't go.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I love it. So let's talk about, you touched on a few things. You talked about the dance group. Now, the dance group is called Steps of Praise, right? Yeah. Now, I remember you guys from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You would show up at events and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh my gosh, the Steps of Praise are here. You're like, oh my gosh. So when I found out you were leader of the Steps of Praise, I was like, oh shoot, let's go. Let's do that. So tell me about that. Like, you said that you wanted to help get kids off the streets and make sure they had a place to go.
It really, that was the goal, was to get them off of the streets. And it's crazy how everything comes full circle because, number one, and I talk about this in the book. Number one, my wife was brought up as a trained dancer.
Okay.
I wasn't. I was a street dancer, right?
Gotcha.
I was the concrete jungles of San Diego. I was hitting the pavement, all right? But then we come together, and we've been married now 36 years. Nice. We come together, and we came together. It was just like, wow, she was into dance. I love to dance, but we had nothing to do. I was working with the city. Then we moved to Oklahoma, right? And so we come back here, and we like, let's make this thing happen. She's like, okay, but you're going to have to be in charge of it because I'm having babies. Right? So my last son was coming, and she's like, I got to give that time to him.
Right.
And that's what she did. So I took over the group, and I got some choreographers, brought them young kids. They were all probably under 15 years old, and brought them in. But some of them are still dancing now in Hawaii and across the world, doing some incredible things. But it was all like full circle. Like, man, my wife is professional dancer, trained dancer. I'm walking the streets dancing, and then all of a sudden, this comes to fruition. I had a goal in my head because I used to watch Michael Jackson. Okay. I remember watching him on the MTV Awards with that big afro, so I had a big afro, right? And so he was robot and I was robotting, right? And so guess what? I was able to get on those same stages because of it. And so there was a time I met Kurt Franklin. We were at Magic Mountain, and we met Kurt Franklin afterwards at a Taco Bell. He was the only one in there that closed it up. He said, hey, let them in for some reason. We meet him, we go along our way. 2 years later, 3 years later, here we are at a concert, and the kids have on, we got the group there. They got on their uniform, their sweatsuits, and they going out front, and people looking like, what are you? And he's looking down like, who are these kids? And then his manager comes to us and says, hey, Kurt wants to see you in the back, after the show. And so we go back there, and literally he says, what do you guys do? Because they had no idea what we did. Yeah. And we said, we dance, but guess whose music we danced to? His music.
Exactly.
Right? Who else had music that we could dance to? Exactly. Not many people. So we literally he said, let me see what you do. He said, well, you got any music? No music. I said, that's okay, because there's a lot of times that back then we were using CDs. The CD would skip. Yeah. So we'd have to turn the music off and keep dancing and sing the song ourselves as we're dancing. Okay. So we actually literally backstage with him, and he's like, hey, man, come here. He's like, this is amazing. I've been praying for you guys, and I've been praying for something called Worship Warriors, right? I tell Dennis, one of my assistants, he comes over there, and he's got a badge that says Worship Warrior. Oh wow! He said, "Oh man, this is
that's
epic.
Awesome.
This is fake,
awesome,
That's
and,
awesome. And 2 weeks later, we're in Los Angeles at the amphitheater with Stevie Wonder and Kurt Franklin and on stage, and it was just up from there. And so, just an amazing opportunity. But God knows how to turn things around and put things into place. It's again goes back to purpose. finding out what you're supposed to do on the planet, and then somehow God will bring things your way, and you'll find yourself walking in that exact thing.
Wow, that's crazy. So you did the performance and everything like that with Kirk Franklin, but you didn't stop there.
No.
Because y'all did some more work with Kirk Franklin, right? Am I correct in understanding that you were in the Brighter Day video?
Brighter Day. Yeah, we were. That was a live video. Yeah, we were a live video.
That one I remember when I saw
the
that
Revolution video.
Yeah, Revolution.
We didn't do the Stomp video. Nah. We did the Revolution video with him, and then a couple more with him. But yeah, that was the main one. Was the Revolution video. But
do you want a revolution?
Yeah.
Well, yes. Man, I remember, those songs, it's funny to me because and the reason why I like to harp on those things and kind of talk about those is, like I said, those are songs and whatnot were such a big part of my childhood. You talk about purpose and all that stuff. It's like these things, I come from a musical family. My dad's a pastor. And I remember sitting on the floor in the, what we call it, the old house. It's like every time you move, you add an old to it. Right. But we were there, and I remember my dad's band being in the living room working on their tape. At the time, I believe they were working on the tape. Might have been working on the CD at the time. I'm not that old. I'm only 30 years old. So they should have been working on but I will say their tape is still one of my favorite projects from them. It's one of the ones I'm like, this one has some heat to it that I'm like, these other ones ain't not there yet. But point being is that those Kirk Franklin songs like Stomp, Brighter Day, Revolution, all of those things. I don't know a kid out there that wasn't impacted by that. That grew up in church and all that stuff. It was like, hey, so when you have somebody like yourself that was a part of that movement, it's very nice and inspirational, because oftentimes, especially when it comes to, I would say, gospel now, and the church world and all that kind of stuff, with the influences of social media and all that kind of stuff, things start to get changed, and they for not always the better, unfortunately. Yeah. And so as these things become more popular and all that kind of stuff, other influences start to go there. You start to look at people, and it's like, hey, people that were putting out things that you can get behind before aren't necessarily doing the same thing now. Yeah. And so it's like, hey, you forgot your purpose. Yeah, you forget what you were here for in the way that you impacted lives. Now, talk about impacted lives. So we talked about Kirk Franklin. I read that you did some work with Fred Hammond as well. How'd you do that one?
Yeah, actually, Fred was on that tour with us.
Okay.
So that one was a New Nation tour.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Fred was on that tour with us, and we danced with him. So we danced. It was Kurt, Fred, CeCe Winans.
Was it Yolanda
Trinity
on that one?
5-7. Yeah. Yolanda Adams was on that one. Yeah. So we did background dance for all those different individuals, and so we had an opportunity then to do some solo stuff with those artists too at the same time. So we had a lot of fun. David and Tamla Mann was on that tour. Cool. They're still some of my good friends today. Yeah, from Meet the Browns and Tyler Perry. They're still we texting every week. That's awesome. Out when we go to Texas. So we just to be able to be in the vicinity of those individuals and have an opportunity to help share with their ministry was something that was impactful. And really it goes back again to something in the book where I talk about the conditions being right. Because you was talking about the different stages of church and all that, those things that went on and what's going on now. Number one, there's a principle in there that I talk about conditions because at any moment you got to look at where you are, and then you got to start looking at what's working now and maybe what didn't work back then. Because most of us are caught up in traditions, so we get stuck. And so it's not about the tradition. You ought to think about the principle of the thing. So the conditions being right. Let's just put it this way. I'm 5'7". Okay. A lot shorter than you are. I'm about, I lost about 20 something pounds. But I'm still about 15 pounds overweight. Okay. But I can still slam a basketball. Okay.
Which oddly enough, I can't do. Even though I'm tall.
You can if you watch this. But if you take me to Petco Park, I can knock a home run in the center field. 400 something feet. I can guarantee you I can make that happen. And all you got to do is give me a trampoline on the basketball court and 100-mile-an-hour winds behind me on the baseball field. And I can slam and dunk a basketball and knock a home run. Why? Because the conditions are right. Right? And so really, you got to start to look at when it comes to to using the right principles, all those things, what that does is it makes the conditions right.
Okay.
When you're doing the right things, there's a lot of different principles or laws, you may call them. Some of them are natural laws. Some of them are spiritual laws. Okay. There's different types of laws or principles that you use. And if you use those principles, what it does is it puts everything in motion so the conditions can be right for you. And so the natural laws, just give you an idea, talk about this. Natural laws is if I get on top of this building and I decide to, I'm going to walk off of it. When I say natural laws, I'm really saying it's God's automation.
Gotcha.
Because there's some things the reason why God doesn't have to judge you nor bless you is because of the fact that he's put laws in place. Okay. So there go those principles or laws. Basically, if I get on this roof, say I'm walking off, God doesn't have to judge me. I could pray, fast, all those things. But there's a law that's going to kick in, the law of gravity, right? That law of gravity. I'm probably going to, this is not too high of a building, but I guarantee I'm going to break a couple of bones or something because of that law that kicks into place. So the same thing when you live in your life, what happens is when you operate by those laws or those principles, it makes the conditions right. Okay. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time. How do I end up with Fred Hammond? How do I end up in a concert with Kirk Franklin? How do I end up already ready to dance and sing the song at the same time? Because there's no music, because it had been set up before the foundations of the world. All this stuff was set up for me, and now the conditions are right for me to go and show them what I'm doing, and travel around the world literally with these individuals, and now been doing it ever since. And
I love it.
Just a lot of principles that you could use, and that's why I wrote the book, because I just watched all the principles that really made the conditions right in my life.
I got you. So obviously you're able to take those experiences that you have, Kirk Franklin, Fred Hammond, Yolanda Adams, all these very impactful people, and those experiences that you had before, and apply those and use those tools and everything like that to kind of go. Because like we said, you learn by experiencing and all of that kind of stuff. Now, how does that translate to kind of more on the personal side when you're dealing with building a family in the midst of everything that you got going on? You got how many boys? You said
3 boys.
You got 3 boys.
No girls.
No girls. Man,
just 1 granddaughter.
Okay. Congratulations. Nice. But so how does that kind of translate over to the family and kind of instilling those principles into the family? Yeah,
that's a great question, because my whole motto is the 5 F's. I want to make sure that I operate in the 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. Okay. All those F's are important to us, and family is a huge part of it. Right. Because a lot of times we become successful and we lose our family. The Bible talks about how we should gain the whole world and lose your soul. Your soul is your mind, will, and your emotions. And so what is that mind, will, and emotions really about? It's really about your family. You don't want to lose your soul. Okay. Because of there's all those people out there doing well, but they're empty when they go home. Right. And so what I was able to do was, number one, I married the right person. Let me say that another time for those in the I married the right person. If you don't do anything else, make sure you marry the right person. I got you. And it doesn't mean that you're going to agree on everything. 100%. Matter of fact, it's going to be the direct opposites most of the time, because God puts together opposites. Because what you do wrong, I'll do right. What you do right, I may do wrong. You will basically shore up my weaknesses. Exactly. And so it's important. So I had a wife. One of the things I had to learn about when I got married. Traveling the world. Literally gone for weeks and months at a time. Then we only home for 3 days, and we're back across on the East Coast somewhere. Well, I had a good wife that was willing and able to take care of my children, train them. She literally trained them and gave them the tools that they needed to be successful in life from a child. And so we put our heads together, and we said we're going to make this happen, and we're still doing it to this day, because just because you're 30 doesn't mean you're not still your mama's boy. Not at all. Right? That's the way it is, right? So we're still instilling those things today, but that's what it was. I had the right person in my life. See, there's an old African proverb says, if you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. Okay. But if you want to go somewhere far, you got to take a team with you. Okay. Right? And so teamwork makes the dream work. John Maxwell said that me and my wife came together, and we are just correlated as a team. And we just made it happen, man. And I made sure that she was fine, make sure that I took care of her, and I always did and still do, because I wanted to make sure that I show my appreciation. I always say it like this: this: whatever you give a woman, she'll receive it, multiply it, and give it back to you. Because she's an incubator and you're a seed bearer. And so all of you guys that are married, listen to me. If you're not married, listen to me. So if you give a woman, say some groceries, she'll give you a meal. You give her a house, she's receive it, multiply it. She'll give you a home. Nice. You give her a seed, she'll receive it, multiply it, and give you a child. Yeah, because she's an incubator, right? But if you give her hell, you'll receive it, multiply it, and give it back to you. Right? So having that teamwork in the home was very, very important. Okay, making sure that you use the principle of teamwork, because that's very, very important. Nice. That you work together and go hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. Because in reality, when it's all said and done, it's really going to be about family. Right. Right. It's really going to be about family. Many of those people that I traveled the world with, many of those, they were young kids. We had tutors. Kurt them paid $100,000 for tutors just for them to go. That's how important it was for them. And we traveled. We were together for, some of them were my family. Some of them were not my family. And I don't hear from a lot of them today. And I don't expect to, because that's not why I did it. But so when it's all said and done, guess what? It's going to be all about family. Yeah. It's going to be all about family. Like some people are in your life for a reason. Some people are in your life for a season, and others are a lifetime. So you're going to get mad when people move on, right? You got to learn how to be able to say, you know what, we were here for a time, and man, we impacted millions of people together. And so I see them. Yeah, they still my dogs. Okay, I love it. So what are your kids up to now? Man, my kids are two of them are content creators. Okay, so I know Corey. Corey has an animal channel. Yes, that thing's weird. He just got back on there strong again. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube and Facebook. Right, we got about hundreds of thousands. So he's literally and I talk about it in the book. We had meetings with Dame Dash. We wanted to put him on TV. The guy who put out Kanye West, Jay-Z. Nice. We in the offices with him, literally talking to him, because he wanted to put him on. Still does want to put him on TV. Nice. Corey just he felt like. I don't know if that was my purpose to do it with him. He loved Dame, and still to this day they talk. Nice. Putting out children's books, all kinds of things. So he's done some amazing things. My other son, Adrian II, he's also a big time content creator. Nice. He just was on a phone on a Zoom last night with some big multimillionaires, literally teaching them how to take their content to the next level. That's what's up. There's a difference between just putting videos out and really putting out content. Right. And he's like the brains behind what I do. If you look at my videos and all my stuff on it, he's the guy who helped me. They're the ones who helped me get on there. Okay. Now I have over 100,000 followers on TikTok myself because I use that for my financial business. So they're out there making it happen. My other son, Blake, when he went to school for journalism, he's actually just getting ready to start a podcast. A sports podcast that he's doing. And so he's out there making it happen. And I got my two grandkids, Cadence Jay, she's 9, a granddaughter, and then Trey, which is Adrian Ewing's the third. Right. He's a ball player, and this guy can write movies. He wrote about 5 books already. Oh wow. He's amazing. We got an amazing family. My wife is the matriarch. She's the one who keeps everything under control. Yeah, I met your wife. She got everything under control. She got you guys all in line. I'm only talking to you because of her, right? True. That is very true. We were sitting there talking. She was like, how would you like to interview? And I was like, okay, cool. I like it. She's no joke. Yeah. She's the brains behind a lot of things. It is important to have that strong backbone in a family. Like I would say, like both, like my mom is amazing. My wife is amazing. Yeah. My mom, like I call my mom anytime, basically pretty much before any business decisions or anything like that, when it comes down to it. And especially since like I'm still new in the game. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, how do I do this? Or pretty much same thing with like my life period. Right. It's like, you're right. You never get to like, I'm 30. You're never going to get to the point where you're not going to be looking at mom and dad and saying, hey, help me out. I'll call my dad up and like, hey, I need your advice on this situation. And it's very important to have that leadership. Now, I'm blessed enough to have my spiritual leadership be my parents as well. Yeah. So, having that in there kind of makes things a little bit easier because, it's already that familiarity with that. So real quick, I want to talk to you a little bit more about your backstory. Yeah. So when I was reading up on you, we talked about your
the shining light, as I would call it, backstory, which comes from, your work within the entertainment industry and all that kind of stuff. Let's go back a little further than that. Let's talk about that struggle, some of the struggles that you had in the past. Yeah. Your cousins got you in some trouble.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man.
So tell me a little bit about.
I went back to North Carolina every 2 years, and you've been reading. That's what I'm talking about, man. This called good podcast right here. But I went back there. I remember, man. I'm like in the 8th grade, going to the 9th grade, and my cousin says, "Hey, man, I got something for you." We start drinking. I don't think it was Pabst Blue Ribbon or something. I don't know what it was, but it was strong. I tell you that much. And he said, "Try this." And my mother actually went back home, so they left me in North Carolina for the rest of the summer. Usually I go home with them. So this time I stayed, and remember, I'm California. I'm the man. I still got a Jerry curl, so I'm the man out there. So literally, he says, "Hey, try this." We try that, man. I remember he got some homegrown marijuana, and he rolled up 40 joints.
40.
I remember still to this day. It was in and he gonna kill me, but I didn't say his name. Donnie. But he rolled up. We put him in this foil, and every day we go out there and just got in just doing what kids do. And but it was always in a safe environment. It was always in a safe environment. Come back home. Cool thing about going back east back in those days, you brought music back that probably many times never came to San Diego, California, because back then there was no internet. So therefore, I got a lot of music, that nobody else heard of. I come back with the music, and even if it did get here 3 months later. So I come back home, and I'm the new guy. I'm a new guy. Because now I'm smoking, I'm doing a little bit of drinking, right? And so I ended up, getting with the wrong people. Even down here, and they were good people. But just with the wrong people in the wrong neighborhood in that sense. They're still my buddies to this day. Still great individuals. Many of them are doing it really, really well. And so I ended up in some stuff though. I always say I come from smoking dope. Now I'm preaching hope. Right? I was in the guttermost. Now I'm on my way to the uttermost.
Because your dad was a pastor.
Yeah, my dad was a pastor.
So at the time you're going through this period of time and all that kind of stuff.
He was deep, man. He was preaching the gospel. Because I was the youngest, so I was spoiled. Okay. Right? So I was spoiled. And because my brother that's next to me is 6 years older than me. Right? And so my mother, she kind of said, "Hey, I wasn't expecting to have you." Basically, I was an accident in a sense. Gotcha. I wasn't supposed to be here, but God had a plan and a purpose for my life. And so literally, man, I got into, selling drugs, all those things on the streets of San Diego, man. I'm 17, 18 years old. Selling drugs on the streets. Literally, I'm selling drugs in one neighborhood. I live in the other neighborhood, so I bought it over there, and I'm selling it over here. And I remember having guys come to me and say, "Hey, man, are you buying drugs from over here?" Oh no, I would never do that. Right? But they got into all of those things. But I learned a lot of lessons that really, when those that are in the streets are they're just businessmen just in the wrong area. Right. And so I learned how to do business on the streets in a sense. And I wasn't very good at it. Gotcha. Not that I was smoking my own stuff, but I just wasn't good. I'd rather go make, $50 and sell it one what is back in those days, half ounce for 50, for $450, and I bought it for 40, so I made 50. I'm done. They don't, just not good. But not good. But man, I learned a lot in there because I learned a lot of these principles that I was doing the wrong way. But when I came into the knowledge of how to do it the right way, I realized, I could have just turned it around and being able to be successful in the area of our life. Regardless of where you are, you can be successful if you use the right principles.
Right, because you could take those experiences, like I said, and the reason why I wanted to touch on that is because, like, when you're getting into the realm of kind of leadership, a lot of times people will look at you if they or when you're trying to kind of educate people, they're like, "What do you know? What have you been through?" Or whatever like that. Right. So you're talking, you organized the steps of praise and wanted to kind of help kids not kind of go down the path that you were looking at, that you were going down. And so then it's like, hey, cool. I've been there. We made those mistakes. I mean, as a preacher's kid myself, I'm like, yo, preacher's kids. I mean, I think it might go without being like, I think what people say might be true. Preachers' kids sometimes be the worst ones because kind of sometimes act out. Yeah. And I think it's because there's a spotlight on you. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I know me growing up, we'd hate when my dad started, like if I was cutting up, that was going to be used in my dad's message that Sunday. And the entire congregation was going to know about it. So no matter what you did, it'd be like, you know what that boy Antoine did? I remember I was talking with Gabriel Cannon, Nick Cannon's brother, and we were talking, and he was like, he came from the same background. He was like, man, his dad would take him up. And then on top of that, his dad was taking him to, he was doing like street ministry, basically. And he would go out there, and he's like, why in the world are we out here with these crackheads and all this kind of stuff, scaring the kids and doing all that kind of stuff? But it's all about getting, boots on the ground, getting in the mud with everybody and kind of developing and building up and all that kind of stuff. So when you have a book like this one, I get how it helps personal life and all that kind of stuff. Tell me a little bit about, as a pastor, how this translates to your work in the ministry. What I just believe that there's two of you. There's who you are and who you will become. Okay. Right? But the question is, how do I become? That's through development. That's through guidance. That's through mentorship and things of that nature. And there's basically a Moses that is the Egyptian Moses, and then there's the Moses that is the Israelite Moses. Okay. Moses was born an Israelite, but grew up and was raised in the Egyptian household of Pharaoh. And all of us have that same testimony. Right. There's an Israelite you and there's a Moses you. I got you. There's an Instagram you and then there's a non-Instagram you. Right. And so we get, but that just means we all have flaws. We all have, and so God allows us to go through those things so that we can develop ourselves into the person that we're supposed to become. Because if everything was roses, we wouldn't know, how, the sour grapes taste, the smell. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it is. If it was always sunshine, we wouldn't appreciate the rain. If it was just rain, wouldn't appreciate the sunshine. It's just the way it is. So what happens is what I went through in life really thrusted me into my ministry. Okay. Right. And so it really helps me relate to, because God's not into religion, he's into relationship. I got you. Religion is man searching for God. Relationship is man knowing God. I got you. Because most of us are brought up in what I said earlier, tradition. We trade down things, tradition. We trade down things through generations, but what worked for my father may not work for me. What works for me may not work for Adrian, Blake, and Corey, my sons. Gotcha. So therefore, we got to watch what we're trading down to our family. There's a story in the Bible, Samson was fighting with a jawbone of an ass, the Bible says, and he killed thousands of people. He was taking care of them left and right. Right. And the Bible says when he got finished, I'm sure there was blood, coming off the jawbone, and he probably, if that was me, I would have probably picked up that thing and said, hold on, let me brush this off. Let me go, because I'm gonna do an infomercial because I'm gonna sell this now. And tell them you could buy for $19.99 the jawbone that could kill 1,000 men. Right? If that was me. But the Bible says what he did was he threw it on the ground and walked away. Which basically means that he said that anointing was for that, but not for this, what's coming next. And so what's important is that we don't get stuck in where we are, but realize God is trying to get us to where he wants us to go. And so what worked for you does not mean it's going to work for me. And so when I started the dance ministry, that was unheard of. I was called a devil. I was thrown out of churches. Yeah, definitely. That was all that stuff. It's very different, especially the way the church typically structured. So that was what I had to deal with, but I knew that I was anointed for that time. One of the reasons I knew is because my father came to me and told me that he had been in prayer. My father is a very traditional guy. He was very, religious, Church of God in Christ. That's what he did. And but he came to me and said, "No, I've been praying, and God told me that he's going to do something incredible with what you're doing." And I'm like, "Well, cool." He lost friends because of that. Oh, wow. Right, for a small period of time, he lost those friends. And he tore down his pulpit area. It had the railings around it and all that stuff. He tore all that down, put steps. I said, "What are you doing this for?" He said, "Because you guys need a place to practice." Wow.
He said, you guys need a place to practice. I'm like, for real? He said, yeah, I'm doing this because God's getting ready to do this. Is all before the Kurt Franklin stuff. This is when I first started. Okay. And so I knew something was going to happen. I knew something was in the midst. I knew God was getting ready to do something with that. And so it happened because of the anointing that my dad had. The right things were passed down through generations. Wow. That was the anointing of God that was on his life. He put it on. Because guess what? I talk about it in the book. What my dad did was travel the world. Yeah. People asked him to come and sing across the world. But then it comes down to me, and that same anointing was on my life. Well, we traveled the world. We didn't do it the same way. Right. He was singing this, the king is coming. Right. I was in there talking about what you looking for, I just wrote a song called The Puppet Master. Oh, yeah. Right. Well, God is pulling the strings. Yeah. And so literally.
Did you have a dance move called The Puppet Master?
Yeah, that was, we did it. That was one of the dopest ones. So that's what they did. He was called for I'll Rise Again. I was called to come and do the puppet master. And so because he was pulling the string. But in the midst of it, God is pulling the strings through all of the things that are happening in life. And the key is where we mess up is that we don't use his principles. Okay. Right? We don't operate in the things that he has really called us to operate in. And so therefore we have the talent, we're gifted, and we're blessed. But the truth of the matter is a lot of times we lose because we don't operate in the true principles that God has put together in our lives.
Wow. Okay. So tell the people, where can they get this book?
You actually can get this book on Amazon. Okay. Go to Amazon. We're not playing. We are on Amazon. Just put in Adrian Ewing's or Principles That Will Make Your Life Predictable. Okay. Put that in Amazon, and that book will come up. You can get the hardcover, you can get soft cover, and then you can also get it on Kindle also. So it's ready. It's going. It's already selling now. So we want to make this a bestseller. Yeah. There's another a chapter in there that really talks about competition. Oh, okay. Right. And competition is important. So you hear me talking about being number one. I want to be number one. Competition is important because what competition does, competition will push you to do things that you probably would have never done. True. Speaking of my sons, I hate running on the treadmill. Okay. I hate jogging. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. So what I decided to do was me and my son Adrian and Corey, we go to the basketball court. And man, we played basketball, but here's the deal. It was one-on-one full court. Okay. Ooh. Gosh. 1-on-1. Man, I'm shooting pulling up from half court with that one. Right. So what happened? I'm in competition. Yeah. I'm running back and forth. Right. I'm layups, shooting, jumpers. Wheezing right now, man. Yeah. That's what we did. Every day we were doing that. But guess what? By the time I was finished, right, running back and forth on that court, I probably ran 3 or 4 miles. Yeah. Right. Because of what? Competition. Yeah. It made me do what, I would have probably never done before. I got you. That's what competition does, man. So each one of those chapters in there, man, here's the deal. Each one of the chapters is also going to be another book. Okay. So it's not long chapters because most people don't like to read. And so it's like a TikTok book. There you go. Most people, they don't like to read. So we thought about that when we were writing the book. So each chapter now is going to be another book that we'll put out. And each one of those chapters, it'll take me the rest of my life to write those books. And so what we want to do is really touch the lives of people, give them a sense of purpose, help them understand the principles of the kingdom of God. Because people that don't go to church, they still use the principles. It still works for them. I know people who don't go to church and they tithe and they're blessed beyond measure because of that. It's not principles are not just for Christian people, right? Principles are for everybody. That's just reality. In every book that I read, I realized it was just principles out of the Bible that was in the self-help book. Typically how things go. That's how it is, right? And so why don't I just go read the Bible and get that information and then put some of that information. It's not a million scriptures in there, but you're going to get some good information. That's great. That's going to really give you the opportunity to be able to grow in life, grow your family. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're just a family man, or you're a single mother, or you're a wantrepreneur, you want to be an entrepreneur, right? Or you're working 9 to 5, you have a great family, whatever it may be. Maybe you work in ministry. This book's going to be something that's really going to give you the keys to be able to operate. And here's the reason why: because it's words. We spell words. but words put spells on us.
Okay.
Every president, right? Donald Trump, make America great again.
Yeah.
Words.
Exactly.
So when he comes up, everybody's chanting those words.
Yeah.
What was Obama had one? Yes, we can. Right? Everybody's chanting, yes, we can.
Yeah.
Right? Because words put spells on it. It'll make us do things that we probably want to do.
Does Biden have one?
I don't know. We're not going to talk about that.
I don't know if he probably doesn't even know what it is.
But we got to understand. So I wanted to put my thoughts on words in words.
I got you.
Because so everything that you read, I want to just think about the words that I'm using. Think about the word principles. Prince actually means first.
Yeah. Okay.
So principles means first in line.
Oh, okay.
And so the prince is the first in line to the throne. Princess is first in line to the throne. Okay. So prince, the Bible says that Satan is a prince and the power of the airways. So he's first in line when it comes to the airways. So you gotta be careful what you listen to.
Yeah,
got to be careful what you're watching, because what goes in right is really going to be the thing that affects your life. And so there's so many things in there, man. People probably gonna think it's this thick, but it's like this thick.
It's like, right? All right. I was like, you put all that in there? The print must be tiny.
No, it's principle. So every chapter is going to be a book, man.
That's great, man.
Man, I'm grateful for my family. My 92-year-old mother's still alive.
Nice,
man.
That's great.
And she's
gets to see you doing everything.
Yeah, she gets to see me do this. She still goes to my church, gets up every Sunday. I don't know how she does it, but she does, man.
That's great.
And we just have a powerful family dynamic.
That's amazing.
When it comes to my family and what we've done and what we're doing is amazing.
Okay.
And, so we're getting ready to put some courses out on this.
Okay.
Like literally, we're putting together courses so people will be able to go through these courses, and by the end of that course, you'll find your purpose, you'll find your passion, right? You'll find your potential. Because I believe everybody's pregnant.
Nice. Oh gosh. Okay. Hold on.
I'm not talking about your wife. I'm talking about you too.
Wait, huh?
I believe everybody's pregnant, man.
Okay.
Everybody's pregnant with purpose, passion, and potential.
All right.
You heard me talk about purpose, passion. Potential is untapped power.
I got you. Okay.
So there's something in you that you haven't tapped into yet.
Got you.
And some is in their first trimester, some are second, some are in their third.
I felt like I wanted to do the Kevin Hart meme when he was like, wait a minute. Right.
That was so funny. Every time you see it, you crack up when you see that. But that's everybody. There's something trying to come out.
I got you.
There's something that's trying to be birthed in you.
I got you.
And right now, my job is to go across the nation. My job is not to be the doctor, but it's to be the midwife, because the doctor's job is to help pull the baby out. Yeah. My job is to help you push.
Okay, got you. And who comes in and does a C-section when I have potential that I can't get out? You come in there and cut it out. Who does that?
Doctor, I'll tell you, you don't even got to push this. But awesome. It's really just, I think everybody has something that's trying to get out.
I got you.
The last thing I'll say, though, the most valuable land in the world is not the shores of La Jolla. The most valuable land in the world, Miles Monroe says, is not the oil fields of Iraq or Iran, not the diamond mines of Africa. Okay. The most valuable land in the world is the cemetery, because most people keep dying with everything that God put inside of them. And so there's movies that were never produced. Yeah. There were podcasts that never came into fruition. Right. There's businesses that never came to pass. There's books that were never written because people keep dying with everything that was put inside. Yeah. Paul said, I was poured out like a drink offering very slowly over time. Yeah. And I believe that we need to make a declaration everywhere I go. I'm saying this. I want everybody to make a declaration. When you die, die empty. Okay. Die with nothing left. I don't want another song to be able to sing. I don't want another book to be able to be written. You don't be looking back and like, Jesus, oh man, I could have did this. I could have did that. No regrets. Jesus said it like this. It is finished. Yeah. I want to be finished when it's all said and done. I love it. Well, thank you so much. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to connect with you today. It's been great. So one last time, so people can buy the book off of Amazon. Go to Amazon. You can buy the book. There's our website is predictableprinciples.com. You can go there. It'll take you to the Amazon. You can get it off of there, predictableprinciples.com. You can go there, but you can go straight to Amazon and just put my name name in there, or put the title Principles That Will Make Your Life Predictable.
Okay.
And go there. And so I appreciate you having me on here. I'm glad we met.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of Icon Presents. It's been such an honor and a privilege to have you on. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the book, Principles That Will Make Your Life Predictable. Again, thank you so much. Be sure to head over to iconpresentspodcast.com. Keep in touch with blog posts, new updates, and everything. Anytime a creator has anything coming up, we always want you to check that out. We keep updating it and so that everybody can stay informed. Subscribe to our newsletter. If you want to join me on the podcast, be sure to visit that website as well. Send me a message and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thank you so much. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all take care.